its groove. Long-term thrills, electric style. E-Rider drives the extra mile.
This week on EV Rider, we've got to look at one of the slickest, best handling station wagons to ever make production. You're looking at Porsche's 2022 Taycan Cross Turismo, which is a low-slung wagon. And what makes it so rare? It can also rise up to handle dirt roads and light off-road terrain. Personally, I think the Taycan is the best looking wagon on sale today. Gas or EV, bar none. That's thanks in part to its shooting brake styling. Historically, shooting brakes often had the styling of a low-slung, two-door coupe estate wagon, often with custom coach work. So in the purest sense, this doesn't quite meet that bar since it's a four-door, but visually, it sure comes darn close. While quick, the Taycan is much more about handling and style than raw speed. This particular trim has a Porsche estimated 0 to 60 of about 4.5 seconds. Joining me is the owner of this stunning Cross Turismo, Josh Giebel. Josh, let's go ahead and start with the color. Tell me about it.
Mamba metallic green, 1 year color, now paint to sample, and you love it or you hate it.
Well, I personally love it.
I've only seen one more in the wild in real life in 3 years, so.
Any idea on the production numbers for this particular color?
Porsche purists would tell you low, but I couldn't tell you for sure.
No worries. So give me a sense of why you picked the Taycan over everything else out there.
Coming from Teslas, Model X, Model S, I grew up driving fast German cars. Taycan comes out and I say best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Wife says we don't need an EV. Then the wagons come out and I say I've got to have one. So we worked out a business deal, got online, found this in New Jersey, booked a flight the next day and drove it home.
I personally, one of the big reasons I was looking forward to this interview, I'm going to get to drive it. So can we hop in and get started? I've waited long enough.
Let's do it.
All right. All right, we're on our way. We're headed over to Roosevelt Boulevard so we can get a little speed up, which is one of the main drags here in this part of Jacksonville. And Josh, you owned a Tesla Model S 90D at one point. And to me, that is actually a good starting point for this discussion because in some ways, they're competitors. Compare the two cars for me.
Speed, I think, is similar. I think it's more for me about the driving feel. I think Teslas, everyone says Teslas drive like Teslas, has the air suspension, has the handling. It was more fit and finish, and you sit in this car and it's different. This feels like you're sitting in a Porsche. The Tesla feels like a Tesla. Not a bad car, but I think between the two, you grab these keys.
And you know, you are a Porsche owner. You've also got a 6-speed manual 911 Carrera. Tell me how the two of those compare.
Very different. One I can sneak out of the house at night, and one my wrenches fall off the wall in the garage when I start it. So it's very different, obviously, driving experiences, but it's wild 30 years apart how similar they feel.
Yeah, and of course you can't compare a station wagon and a convertible in many ways, but given they're both Porsches, from a handling dynamic standpoint, what's your thoughts? How's the two compare?
Yeah, I think everyone talks about the handling from the 911 rear engine, weight over the rear axle. I think I would argue it's a pretty close comparison with all the weight down low with the battery in these. So you're definitely not giving up in a 6,000 pound car. You're not giving up what you think you would be over a little two-seater. It feels close enough for me, I'll tell you that.
Well, a lot of people, that are enthusiasts, there's a couple things that worry them about EVs, and for probably range anxieties at the top of the list. And I would say number 2 is weight. So let's start there. How good a job does this do of masking its weight compared to the lighter 911?
I think this model, it's got double insulated glass as an option, so it's quiet like your EVs are quiet. You don't realize you're hauling 6,000 pounds around. It'll take turns. the rear wheel steer. I mean, it's got what you need to keep you pointed in the right direction. I would argue it's an easier car to drive, spirited drives as they call it in the PCA club, versus a 911.
And you know, one thing I'll say right off the bat is this is a 2022, if I remember correctly.
Correct. Yep.
And it still feels nice and tight. And that's one of the things that I love about the Porsche brand. I've never owned a Porsche, but I've heard and read repeatedly that owners love the build quality. And you know, some cars, once you get to this stage, they're starting to, you know, rattle or creak here or there. Do you find any of that with this?
Not at all. No, I think it's what I tell people is they've been making the same shaped car for decades. They're refining the engineering, and I think a lot of that, the purists don't appreciate a Taycan, but I think a lot of that engineering prowess transferred over to these cars when everybody was hopping on the EVs. This is, again, they didn't do it to say they have an EV. I think they did it to make a driver's car.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to come away agreeing with that statement by the time our day is done. But let's talk about the other bugaboo for people that are concerned about the idea of an EV. How have you found the range anxiety to be? Because even among EVs, this is certainly not top of class.
Sure. Yeah, I think this starts at 290 miles. It's got the upgraded battery pack. But that was with 21-inch aero wheels. So when I put, or those were 19-inch. So when I put 22s on it with 315s, it's down to 230, 240.
Yep.
But I can tell you, it's adapted to the drag from the tires, and it's dead on. If it says you've got 188, you can drive 188 miles. Where we find in the Teslas, you're off by 15% if you're lucky. So I think coming from EVs, we understood. We got over that range anxiety years ago, but then we hopped in this car in New Jersey and drove it all the way to Miami, nonstop, different charging network, and had no problems.
Yeah, and that's something I think not everyone that hasn't entered the EV space knows, and especially in the case of this car. It is so quick at a charging station.
Yeah, and you got charging ports on both sides, which is nice. So all of the non-standard charge points, Electrify America, you can get into any spot. It'll fast charge twice as fast as our Tesla.
So what drew you to the Taycan and away from the Model S?
I think when we were looking at the new Model S's when the Plaids had come out, and then a friend of ours, he ordered a 2020 launch edition Taycan, got stuck on the boat due to COVID, but riding in that, it was just the fit and the finish. I mean, it felt like a modern car. It felt like a luxury car. I'm a fan of the sound it makes outside. I mean, it checked all the boxes, and I think you go to any parking lot and you see 30 Teslas. So it wasn't I wanted it to stand out, but I think it was nice to have something different, and then the Mamba metallic green may have sold us on it.
Yeah. It's a rare color for sure. And, you know, of course, you had one of the older Teslas, and in 21 or 22, I know they did another significant upgrade to the Model S. Have you had an opportunity to drive the final Model S's to compare them?
No. So I drove a Plaid when they first came out.
Okay.
First with the yoke steering wheel.
So you did then. The yoke steering wheel marked probably the last really big update. I know there's been refinements since, but
then the answer to that then is yes. And I would say it was still, I think they've got it figured out, Model 3, Model Y, panel gaps and build quality. But this was straight from the delivery center to go out there and drive it, and it was just your Tesla build quality, those kind of things. Nice car, very nice car, capable car, but I don't know, we had enough headaches with recalls and things when we bought our Model X years and years ago that we figured we'd roll the dice on something else.
As a Taycan owner, for anyone considering whether it's the four-door or the wagon, what would you advise people? You know, it's always great to talk to owners because they know the things that no automotive journalist really knows.
Yeah.
You've lived with this car.
Yep, I think you get the cargo space with the wagon is a big plus. Fold the seats down, you can throw 2x4s or 4 sets of golf clubs, whatever you need in the back. And I think the only downside to the wagon is you better be comfortable getting lots of thumbs up on the road, because it's boys of all ages will roll the window down and take a picture. So if you can live with a wagon, it's not your dad's station wagon, I would tell you to go that route. They're harder to find, there's less of them, but I think the benefits are there.
And what about the different model years? I imagine you really studied up on the advancements, whether it be software updates, battery improvements, suspension tweaks. Any advice for would-be used car buyers? Stay away from this one, gravitate toward that one?
Yep, I would say, not to sound like a forum warrior, but 20s and 21s, they've got big time battery issues. They're swapping batteries under warranty. 22, they updated it, they fixed it. It's been, I mean, we've had it for 3.5 years and it's been absolutely zero maintenance, zero headaches. They're pushing over-the-air updates now. I don't believe that was on the early one. So the battery is obviously the biggest component in an EV.
Sure.
Steer clear of a 20 or a 21 unless the work's been done.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, they haven't changed them until the brand new model. They matched the front end of the Panamera. I think they ruined it. I think this front end is much better.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do not like the 2026 as well from a styling perspective. I feel like they tweaked it for the sake of tweaking.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, I'll never forget the first time I saw a Taycan in person. It was in a parking lot. It was backing out, and I said, "What's that sound?" And I heard it doing its little spaceship burble.
So is this exterior as well? So there's exterior speakers, just like the Dodge Charger Daytona.
Yep.
I did not know that. And it's about roughly the same volume as it appears to be in the passenger compartment?
I think so. I think it's a little bit louder. It's noticeable, but like on the highway, you're not going to hear it. But if you're rolling around a parking lot or city streets, definitely somebody with their windows down, they hear it. And I think it's got that weird tone where it's a little bit Jetsons, a little bit sports car.
Yeah.
And that's what makes a lot of people look as well, I think, because they think, what's that noise? Well, that's one of the biggest things I miss about my loud gas cars was the sound. Like, that's part of the experience. So that was also hearing this, that it didn't sound horribly cheesy. I thought, okay, now I can get some speed sensitive revs along the way, and it sort of scratches that itch for you a little bit.
And do you find yourself driving with the propulsion sound on all the time?
I do probably. I normally get in and flip it to Sport Plus, so you get the sound. My wife yells at me if the sound's not on. So 80% plus we have it on.
Okay. Now, why does she yell at you if it's not on?
I think she just thinks it sounds cool.
Okay.
And so if you can make the sound, you should make the sound.
And if I remember correctly, I think she's a Model X owner. Is that correct?
Yep.
And how does she think this compares with the X as a family vehicle?
So she's now seeing the new Cayenne EVs. She likes the Macan EVs.
Okay.
So I think we become a Porsche family, falling in love with the brand and the people at the events, and you know, we go to a lot of races, and so we're into the brand. So that's an option for her. She thinks we need an SUV. I tell her I don't know if we do because of this.
And you know, you guys said you go to a lot of events and you're into the brand. So is it fair to say that the overall Porsche community has accepted EVs?
I would say the guys who think that water cooling is the devil and call their car a 911,
sure.
They haven't. I think everybody else has. It's interesting at some of the PCA events. We've been lucky to be between Charlotte and here at really good local PCA chapters, and people always want to know about it. They want to sit in it, they want to drive it, or it's people who got forced to buy one because they wanted an allocation and they either kept, there's no in between.
They either love it and say they get it,
Yeah.
or they say I couldn't wait to get rid of that thing.
And if you were to put a percentage on it, what's the love-hate percentage-wise?
I think there's probably 70% love it or good with it, okay. Of that 70%, how many would pick this over a Panamera? Less than half, probably.
All right, we're going to give this a quick 0 to 60 run in sport. Here we go. And that was 60. Hopefully you guys got to hear what the Taycan actually sounds like. Hopefully our mics picked that up. It's that smooth torque, just never gets old in any and every EV I drive.
Yep.
Now, I didn't feel a shift, so I'm guessing that I didn't get up fast enough to get the second gear.
It's about 75.
Yeah, and for EV aficionados that may not know, this EV is unusual in that it has 2 gears. The vast majority don't.
And when it hits second gear, I mean, that torque curve starts all over again. And it's, with Florida's new super speeder laws, it's a dangerous place to be because you go 70 to prison very quickly. So I don't know what it's limited to, but it'll get you everywhere you need to be. Again, that passing speed on the highway between EV torque plus the second gear, it'll put a smile on your face every time.
Yeah. Well, and I gotta imagine any curvy road has just gotta be heaven in this.
Yep. Yeah, and I think you get a little bit of that with the bigger tires, the more meat, where they skinny them down for range, from the factory, but we didn't buy it for the range. I don't need every mile, so slapping the big tires on there definitely gives you more grip as well.
It's fair to say, even with the reduced range, when you do finally stop to charge, you can pick up 100 miles in
Quick.
10 minutes, right?
Yep. Yeah, you're 10 to 80% in 15 minutes on a good charger, but it's one of those pop in, grab some beef jerky and a soda inside, and you got more than enough to get out of there.
As far as criticisms go, I do wish the screen that contains the air conditioning controls was brighter. In full sun, I found it a bit hard to read, but then again, Josh had a screen protector on it, so I don't know how much of a difference that might have made. I'd also appreciate a few mechanical buttons for the AC, so I'm not forced to look away from the road. But really, that's about it. By the way, this particular part of this week's EV Rider episode is being shot at Jacksonville, Florida's Stockton Park. It's a beautiful park right on the St. Johns River. Hey, and if you enjoyed this episode of EV Rider, please go ahead and give this video a like, hit that subscribe button, and maybe even that notification bell so I can continue to bring you more adventures in EV motoring. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.